anti-imperialistic community and have so many people come along, not just from the Naas area, but throughout the county and even from further afield. So Gurmila Maga Fod, that's about as much as I will say. I've asked a few of the local representatives to speak. We did say in our tweets that we try to make it non-party political to make sure people felt welcome to come along, but I hope you don't mind elected reps from a variety of different political views to speak. Not every elected rep will be speaking. We just try and keep it to about 7 or 8 minutes and shut up around 8 o'clock or so. But if I can just invite Ray Cronin to say the first couple of focal from Opposition Carvalor. Okay.
Gurmila Maga Asukta Amachanocht, the Mincher Gaza August the Palestine. It's truly heartening to see so many people here. As Nahi said, it was a very impromptu event. We just decided we chose Naas as the centre of Kildare and to show our solidarity to the people of Gaza, suffering another collective onslaught and bombardment from the racist, apartheid, brutal Zionist state. Anyone viewing social media over the last few days has had their hearts broken with graphic images of young children and their parents with horrific injuries and some dead. And we will never forget the 4 children we saw deliberately targeted by the Zionist state while playing football on the beach. Our government talk about the violence from both sides. They perpetuate the myth that Israel is defending itself as if from unprovoked attacks. Israel cannot pretend to us that they are defending themselves from rockets from Gaza. There is no comparison to the military might of the Israeli state and the Gazan rockets that managed to get through the Israeli Iron Dome. There is never an excuse to bomb homes, schools, hospitals and civilian areas of population in the lie that you're doing so to protect your country. The numbers dead on both sides speak for themselves. The people of Gaza have had their land stolen. They've had their homes stolen. But most of all, they've had the lives of their loved ones stolen. Of course they fight back. They fight back because of all of this, all I've mentioned. They fight back because they are desperate, and they fight back because they have no hope. But most of all, and this is just my opinion, they fight back because they need to know that they're still alive. We have many demands, some of them mentioned here in our placards and posters. We want our government to tell the Israeli government that they cannot act with impunity. We want the Israeli ambassador to be expelled from Ireland. We are a supposedly neutral country, and we know in our genetic bones and in our genetic makeup what it's like to be occupied and treated like second-class citizens. My daughter asked me the other night, was it not illegal to bomb hospitals? I told her it was. I told her it was against resolutions, but most of all I told her that it was a crime against humanity. She knows it, and we know it here. The whole world knows it. Citizens from all over the world are protesting against this, what's happening in Gaza. And yet our governments are pretending that they can't see the same thing we can. The disconnect is unreal, and it's just not good enough. Don't let them tell you that you're anti-Semitic when you criticise the barbarity of the Israeli action, because they spit on the graves of their foreparents when they engage in the fascist, racist, apartheid actions that led to the genocide of the Jewish community in Europe. I saw a quote the other day from an English MP, Jewish man, who said that his Jewish grandmother wasn't shot in the head by Nazis to give cover to the Israeli government to do what they're doing. Don't let them silence you. The lack of critical thinking in some quarters of society is frightening. There can never be peace without justice. Peace is not a band-aid, and it must have justice at its core. When you see injustice and oppression, you have to stand up and take your side, because sitting on the fence means you're on the side of the oppressor. Gurmila Maga.
Anish most failing le Brendan Young Lord our son which are you Selbridge League still? Selbridge League. Yeah, appreciate it Brendan. Thanks very much.
Good evening comrades, it's very heartening to see such a big turnout today, particularly in the light of what happened today. I want to talk briefly about the way the invasion has been covered, and in particular the framing of the whole thing as being one of equals. If only Hamas would stop chucking rockets, it'd be all grand. We'd have it, quiet on both sides. Fundamentally, Hamas or anybody in Gaza or in the West Bank has the right to resist. What has happened in the last 40 to 50 years are land clearances, ethnic cleansing and dispossession. That's the fundamental reason. That's what has to be resolved in any peace process. It's not simply a question of borders or which bit that you get to control here or whether or not you can grow or sell fruit there. It's about control of land and people having sufficient space to live. We look at what's happening in Gaza over the last 7 or 8 years since Hamas was elected. An elected government, you mightn't like its politics. I'm not a religious person, I'm an atheist. I wouldn't want a religious government, whatever colour it was. We'd spent a lot of time getting rid of them here. I wouldn't want them in there, but that's by the by. The people of Gaza elected that government. The response from Israel was to arrest most of them, 39 of them arrested. There are nearly 5,000 Palestinian prisoners in administrative detention. Internment without trial. It was tried in the north. It doesn't work. It's a brutalisation of a whole people. But fundamentally, this is to stop a resistance to what has gone on and what continues to go on. And what will have to be dealt with in any peace process will be the question of the settlements and the continued expansion of the settlements. There are now approximately 5,000 settlers living in the West Bank and not in Gaza, but in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. 42%, 2011, 42% of the West Bank was occupied by settlers, and it continues to expand. Palestinians cannot build houses, they cannot sink wells, they don't have access to water. All of these things have to be dealt with. It's not simply a question of where the border lies or where an administrative zone begins or ends. What can we do about it? Well, the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign has raised 3 key things that people can do. The first is to boycott Israeli goods, to put pressure on the Israeli government to withdraw from Gaza and to cease the offensive. A boycott can be done in a number of ways, but it's quite easy. A group of people goes into a supermarket, gets trolleys, goes to particularly the vegetable areas, looks what's on the label, fills up the trolleys, goes to checkout and says, I want to see the manager, I'm not going to buy this, it's Israeli. You do it 3 times, they begin to get the message. Mandela said it was quite effective. He might have been just given his credit, but he said it was quite effective in the struggle against apartheid. That's the first thing people can do. The second thing is to demand suspension of the Euromed agreement. The Euromed agreement provides Israel with preferential trade access into the European market. Article 2 of the Euromed agreement insists on respect for human rights under international law, which Israel has broken on a number of counts. International Court of Justice in relation to the wall, in relation to the settlements. The International Committee of the Red Cross has reported many, many breaches of human rights. It's in the agreement that the access to the market is conditional on the observation of the human rights clauses. We want suspension of the Euromed agreement. We want the government to move on that. And thirdly is to stop arms sales to Israel. The US gives $8 billion worth of aid to Israel every year, much of it in arms. Has to stop. We don't sell stuff for the US. However, the Irish state does have trade relations with Israeli arms manufacturers. The Department of Defence between 2009 and 2011 spent nearly $3 million on anti-personnel radar systems that are used on the wall. The company name is Elbit. Troker have done quite a good briefing on it. I recommend looking at it. The Department of Defence bought 10 of these systems. Veolia, which runs the Lewis, is running the light rail system, building the light rail system in Jerusalem and in the occupied territories. We want an end to these arms contracts. We want an end to arms trading. If the Israelis cannot buy spares for their arms or cannot support their companies exporting, it puts further pressure. Finally, we need to prepare for what looks like another demonstration next Saturday. So people should put it in their diaries. We need to be going to Dublin on Saturday. With maybe 5,000 people last Saturday. We want 10,000 people next Saturday. In your parties and organisations, etc., contact the Irish Palestine Solidarity Campaign. It's the best source of information. The site is very good, gives all the international documentation, all of the history, all very accessible material. Go ahead and talk to people. Don't let us be intimidated. This is a great start. Don't let us be intimidated by the accusation that we're supporting one side against another. It's an unequal fight, but the oppressed have a right to resist oppression, and we have to stick with that. Thank you.
Okay, so Sir Gerard, we'll ask Nisha O'Carroll. So Nisha O'Carroll can put the fucking off. Nisha, yeah, very much great,
Gymraeg agus Gymraeg os chapter on no while I'm awake as a go on low shoes and a daggering and no practice on no page agus tahi excelahid. Thanks very much for organising this demonstration. And just to show my support, I am a Fianna Fáil councillor in the Maynooth area, and to show my complete and utter support to the Palestinian cause. We as a people and as a nation can empathise with those in Palestine, with those in Gaza, because we were oppressed in a very, very similar manner. Were our children and our wives and our friends and our brothers and our fathers murdered by a larger imperialistic state? Yes, we were. Yes, we were. And that is why we must stand in solidarity with a people that are not only oppressed, but are being crushed by this state that, you know, as Raid had said earlier on, that had come from being oppressed, and now they are the oppressors. Díag ar níag, we can help and we can support. This hasn't just popped its head up overnight. This has been going on for years upon years upon years. And it's so good to see that the people of Kildare and the people of Ireland are showing their support and their solidarity. And I'd like to show my solidarity in supporting the people of Gaza and the people in Palestine. So, Gurn Míle
Okay, folks, just before we all break up, Brendan has mentioned the next, I suppose, national demonstration that will take place on Saturday. This demonstration here was organised on Thursday night at 1:30. To have such a crowd is fantastic. It says a lot about us as a people in County Kildare. To get such a crowd at short notice. If it's a case that anything else is organised, there's nothing organised as yet. It was all quite ad lib. People will probably hear about it through social media, so keep your eyes out for contact people who you think might know or might have an idea of what's going on, as well as looking at the national website for the IPSC. So, if I could just ask people who have gotten banners that I suppose they didn't bring along themselves to maybe leave them back up to the front, and I had a request from one of the Sinn Féin councillors to have all of the Sinn Féin members maybe go to one side. If there's any other announcement, I did say I'd keep it non-party political, but that's the only thing I'll say. Is there any other announcement from anyone else in the crowd or anything else that needs to be said? If anybody wants some IPSC leaflets with some information on website, etc. Okay. So if I could just ask the Sinn Féin members to go over and follow Rada there, and Gurmila for following along. Okay, so Rada can do it.
Paul, no, come here. Paul.